Our next speaker from Berlin to London, Mr. Paul Martin, Chair Global Retail Steering Group and Head of Retail UK KPMG. He's going to discuss about how global retailing after a post-COVID world is working now, the trends and the outlooks. So how are you, Paul? Morning in London.
Good morning from London and good afternoon to Hong Kong. I hope you are well today.
Thank you. We are very, very happy to have you here online, and we cannot wait to see and to hear what you have to say. So the online platform is yours.
Great. Well, look, thank you very much, and thank you for having me today. As introduced, my name is Paul Martin. I lead the retail practice at KPMG, both globally and in the UK. And I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you today about how the world of retail is changing. So if we go to the first slide, I'm going to provide you with an overview of where the retail market is today and how the retail market is going to evolve over the next years. If we could switch to the next slide, please, you will see some key data points on this slide. The first graph highlights consumer spending versus retail spending. And as you can see, in 2020, we have, for all obvious reasons, experienced quite a significant dip, both in consumer spending and in retail spending. But what we have experienced over the last years is that consumer spending has been increasing at low single digits in comparison to retail spending, which has been growing at an even slower rate. So we do see consumers around the world continue to spend money on various products and services, but more and more of their expenditure is moving away from physical retail products to other leisure and service-related activities. It is also fair to say in this context that in a number of markets around the world, the impact of the current health turning into a global economic crisis has been very, very severe for the retail sector. In my home country, the UK, we do not expect retail sales to reach pre-COVID levels until 2022. Specifically essential retail categories such as food will continue to experience growth, but non-essential retail categories, if you think of apparel as an example, this is where we have seen the largest declines, in some cases up to 30% declines, connected with the enforced lockdown of many physical retail stores. And yes, we will see an improvement in 2021, but in many cases, we will not see pre-COVID levels reached again until 2022. If you look at the second graph, this is where we outline which channels are growing at which speed. And no doubt over the course of today, you would have already heard a number of speakers talking about the significant acceleration of online. The data I am showing you on this slide is looking at growth ratios on a global level. And of course, certain markets are growing at a significantly higher rate. But the e-commerce channel, as highlighted on the second graph to the right of the screen, showcases online is the fastest growing global channel. And what may surprise you is the second fastest growing channel, which is the discount channel. Already very well established in many European markets, we see value-based retailing increasingly growing in popularity in North America and a number of other regions around the world. And this is definitely a channel to keep a close eye on if we think of the economic uncertainties following the world in a post-COVID reality. More and more consumers will be trying to get the best value, the best prices for their money. And in these environments, we generally see discount retailing prosper. And then I want to draw your attention to the third graph, which looks at online penetration versus in-store sales. And I did highlight the online channel is growing the fastest. And if we look globally, China and South Korea have the highest online penetration, followed by the United Kingdom and the United States. But it is important to highlight in this context that globally, online still only represents about 16% of all retail sales. So the largest proportion of retail sales are still generated within the physical environment. It is important to say, though, that the role of the physical environment is changing. In many markets, we will see a significant reduction or the need of physical reduction in stores, but at the same time, as I highlighted, a large proportion, the largest proportion of sales will still happen within the physical channel. In many countries, that is between 80 and 90%. If we can go to the next slide, I want to speak about the importance of consumption drivers. And when you are looking at how to influence your consumers as a retailer going forward, it is going to be pivotal to understand what levers are making consumers drive to a purchase. The first driver, as I mentioned a few moments ago, is value. This is the overarching and most important driver. KPMG has recently released a global consumer survey looking at 12 different markets and how consumers are behaving in a post-COVID world, and value is the most important driver. And if you take this connection with the growth of the discount channel I mentioned a few moments ago, this will remain a very important component going forward. It is important to say, though, the value channel in many markets around the world has not delivered an online proposition. So therefore, this is going to be a key component for the discount retailing community to solve in the near future. How do they deliver an online proposition, which I believe will fundamentally reconsider the business model of online retailing? The second key driver of consumption is convenience. Convenience for many years has been an important component of retailing. That could either be proximity retailing through convenience stores in the physical space, or the growth of online delivering that convenience to your home. And if we look at many markets around the world, alongside the online channel, the convenience channel has seen significant growth. If I take my home market as an example, in the UK, according to Kantar and Nielsen research figures, the convenience channel has been the fastest growing channel during the COVID pandemic, which has provided a real opportunity for tertiary high streets, not those inner city high streets, but for tertiary high streets to be revitalized. Experience is the next consumption driver I would like to highlight. For many years, cynical commentators have highlighted you cannot deliver experience online. It always has to be in the physical environment. I would argue against that. And in recent years, we have seen specifically in a number of Asian countries, China to use a great example, we have seen increasing use of live streaming to really bring that experience to the forefront. Choice is the next consumption driver, which is a very important point. We have seen over recent years those retailers with unlimited choice, specifically the platform players, do exceptionally well. And retailers with limited curated ranges also doing exceptionally well. Players in the middle have struggled the most. And in a post-COVID world, retailers will be looking to realign and to reduce their ranges, to reduce the complexity in their ranges, to free up working capital, to enhance supply chain efficiencies. So choice will be a key consumption driver. The next driver I would like to highlight is purpose. Businesses are going to have to show they have a purpose in the world. They need to be able to showcase they share equal or similar values to the consumers they look to attract. And this is going to remain a top 3 board agenda going forward. And the final consumption driver is privacy and safety. In the 2010s, the big battleground in retail was online versus offline. That ship has sailed. I believe in the 2020s, the trade-off is going to be between privacy and convenience. Do I trust handing over my data to an organization, and will they safeguard my privacy? If they do that, I will provide them with more data to obtain increased levels of convenience. But COVID-19 has also brought the physical safety component to the forefront. Are my store colleagues, are my consumers safe? This is another key equation that needs to be taken into account. And if we can flip to my final slide, that really then takes us to the 4 key trends I believe retail leadership teams need to be focusing on over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. The first key trend is business models and partnerships. The world of retail is changing. The business model of retail that has broadly been the same in many countries for nearly 2,000 years has now and is now undergoing a structural change. And if I look at the value chain of retail, that for hundreds of years has been source great product, ship product, and sell product, that has become more complex. And therefore businesses, retailers need to think about partnering, in some cases, in inverted commas, dancing with the devil, to work with some of their direct competitors, in other cases with startups, to really build the business of the future. The second key point I would highlight is cost of doing business. We have seen profitability of retail decline in most countries around the world. Again, if I quote a UK example, from 6% EBITDA margin in 2010 to 4.5% in 2013 to 2.5% in 2019 to 0.2% this year. This is our forecast. And therefore, both essential and non-essential retailers are going to have to reduce their costs between 10 and 50%. That is not tinkering around the edges. That is a really significant cost reduction businesses need to be looking at. And I think this will happen across 4 areas. Area number 1 is range. I already mentioned cost of goods and choice. In that context, we will see retailers reduce their ranges between 10 to 30%. But the key is going to be which products do I take out of my assortment. But that will increase my working capital position, it will enhance my supply chain efficiency, and it will also allow me to optimize my workforce. The second big topic around cost optimization is real estate. How do I reduce my real estate portfolio? I mentioned in some countries we'll see a 25% reduction of physical real estate over the next years. The third point is around workforce. How do I use my human capital to the best extent whilst I automate other processes? And the fourth area is technology and supply chain. Many retailers will need to pivot their CapEx investments from store openings and store refurbishments into technology and supply chain efficiencies. This is going to be a key topic. The third area, and I've already highlighted, purpose and reputation, is going to be really key. And the fourth point, and I would argue has never been more important today, is customer power. If you do not understand who she or he is you are working with today, you cannot win. For many years, retail was about great locations and great products. You open the doors and they will come. It's not as easy as that anymore. You truly need to understand who your customers are to be able to personalize your offers, to be able to personalize your messaging. We have seen this to its highest degree during lockdown, when many physical locations were closed and the only way you could communicate with your consumers was through the online channel. This is going to be pivotal. Customer centricity, which many businesses say is one of their key priorities, has to be an absolute #1 priority going forward. Those were the thoughts I wanted to leave you with today. I'm very happy to take some questions, and we've got a couple of minutes to go through some questions now. So let me just pick up some of the questions we have got here. Will improved delivery times be the death of the high street? This is a very interesting question, and as always, it depends. We have seen during COVID, we have seen supply chains come under a lot of pressure. The key in this context is, how do you communicate to your consumer? Ideally, you would like to have a delivery within 24 hours, and more businesses are trying to deliver that promise. But it is not always fundamentally important to be able to deliver immediately. It's understanding the customer mission. If I need something for tomorrow as I'm cooking a meal with those ingredients, then of course I need it. If I order it today and I need it for the weekend, I'm fine if it comes on Friday. Communicating and understanding the shopper mission is going to be really, really key in that context. The next question here is, can you explain more on what you mean by using your offline presence to make yourself more relevant? Examples. I think that is from the previous speaker, so I'm going to move on for this. So, does convenience trump discount for everyday retail? Another really good question in that context. Convenience, as I mentioned in the drivers of consumption, is a key pillar, and if your shopping mission is ease, and we are seeing from our global consumer survey that experience is moving more into ease, make it easy for me to shop, then that is absolutely a key point. But if I look at discount as in price, we have already seen a trend move away from the use of promotions in many countries, so that is less important, but we will see the growth in everyday low price retailing, a concept that a number of retailers are already using and are famous for, but getting the biggest bang for my buck is going to be really key going forward. And we've seen discount retailing concepts in many countries are able to undercut the basket cost by 15 to 20% of many mainstream retailers. So that, I believe, is going to be key and will be the most important consumption driver in economically difficult times. I think we have now run out of time. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you very much.